I get in this room? It is episode 18. None of us are good at math, but we think that's where we're at. All right, so Scott Stevens, former lead singer, the man behind the X's, joined us this week. Margot, of course, locked down the interview, and I'm so happy that you did.
Yeah, no, he was awesome. Scott, first of all, thank you. This guy is back on tour. He will be performing in Michigan, I believe, in November.
Well, I think they're going to do the show, and then we'll see if a tour happens.
They're going to do a show, but he has been selling out, which has been so cool. You know, after taking 16 years off, being this killer music producer, a fashion icon, that's really what I wanted to focus on, was his rock star style. I know you're trying to channel that with your vibe, but Scott does it very, very well. It's very natural, so that's what I was curious about.
Yeah. I'm huge in the dad rock circuit, though.
Yes, it's
like massive.
We see that. Yeah. We're experiencing that right now.
Yeah, I mean, we can pack 20, 30 people into a club on a Saturday afternoon.
Well, this guy is packing in 300 already, and that I think that's just wild and so cool.
Because we talked about the Viper Room when they did their little reunion.
Heck yeah.
Not their little reunion, but their reunion and stuff.
Big reunion.
So one of the cool things is, I think that, you know, and a lot of our guests and the way we've done a lot of these interviews is, you know, kind of getting a lot of the behind the scenes of the music business, of the entertainment business, and he definitely didn't disappoint. You know, and I obviously remember the X's from when they were, you know, in their prime, and I had a million questions, and obviously we have like literally 26 minutes to do this show, so we only have so much time for the guests.
We had 26 minutes. Our interview was 43. We're cutting it down, but he was just so...
Yeah, there was 43 minutes. We have to figure out a way to like put the entire interviews online so people can see the whole thing if they want to see it.
We need to do that.
For like their fans.
I think people would be interested.
Yeah. Anyway, so I mean, he was super kind with his time and did the entire interview from his house where he's recorded songs that have, you know, gone, you know,
huge hits,
platinum.
You know, to me, it feels like a magical studio. He was saying it was a small space, but small spaces create these huge events and, you know, top of the charts. He recently worked with, obviously, Chris of Daughtry and Dorothy, and just really amazing people. And I think the testament to him is his character. I mean, he came in, he's so humble, but yet so fun, full of energy. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah. Oh, the thunderstorm. We have a storm rolling in here in Houston, Texas.
Storm's rolling in.
And we've been hit hard with storms. It drives the dogs
Here comes
crazy.
Beryl times 2.
It drives the dogs nuts, ladies and gentlemen. But, you know, we're here at Margot's house just bringing you this, you know, interview. All right, so let's kick it off. Let's get to him. And you asked the first question, and you were like, hey, man, how do you pull off those rock star vibes, you know, which I thought was really cool.
Yes. I mean, we all want to, because I feel like there's always that question of, you know, what do you wear to a concert? You don't want to look like you tried, but you do want to look cool. It's like trying without trying.
Right.
Like, think about Coachella, right?
You're going off the rails now.
No,
Toss to the
anyway,
interview, Margot.
Okay, here we go. He accessorized well. How to dress like a rock star, Scott Stevens.
I think the secret to anything is you go after what you love and you don't try too hard. And if you are that, then you just are. You know, the way I think like Steven Tyler is the way Steven Tyler is because that's the way he is. And, you know, I've been lucky enough to kind of see him sometimes behind the scenes. And you know what, whether he's just, you know, dressing down at home, he still looks the part. You know, I went on tour with, you know, years ago with Motley Crue, and I spent the summer getting to know Nikki and to know Tommy and those guys, and they just are that, you know, and Nikki and I became fast friends, and, you know, maybe he saw something in me that he sees in himself. I don't know. I'm guessing here, but I just think that you are who you know what you are, you know, like, and I've always been into rock. I've always, from the time I was 5 years old. I mean, it's the first memories of music are the Beatles and the Stones, and then AC/DC and ZZ Top, and then into then into my era of the grunge era, and like, so I've always just been in it. And my haircuts have always been just kind of long and rock based. I used to have hair down to here, but and I don't know. I always wore rock t-shirts, and my wife always tells me, she's like, "Do you have any other color other than black?" And I'm like, no, it's the only color that we all have.
So, and I know that there is an upcoming Xyz gig, yeah,
Yeah,
November 9th.
just announced a few days ago.
Yeah. So what does it take after, not being like active and like you said, off the road and it's basically a reunion of sorts, right?
Yes, it is, sir.
So what does it take leading up to that to pull that show off? Because obviously you want to be the best you possibly can.
Yeah, I mean, it takes a lot of mental, visualization, and a lot of practice, a lot of home practice. After not, being in a band for almost 16 years, and well, no, it was 14 years. Um, and getting out there and singing a song and having to perform something from the time, point A to point B. That's not my world when I'm producing records. I put things together in pieces. So very rarely do I have to sit there while I'm making a record and play a guitar part from beginning to end. I can do it, but it doesn't usually go that way. Because producing is stacking and layering and doing different sounds coming in and out and things. So when you're performing, I'll set up in here, I'll set up a microphone, I've got my in-ears, put on my guitar, turn on my amp, and I'll put the records on my speakers here, and I'll just play along. And I'm piping it into my ears so I can hear, and I can hear my guitar and my voice, and I'm just practicing. And it's not super sexy, but it's like, it's the dirt work that has to be done so that when I get in the room with the guys, that I'm not sucking, and that I can sing the songs, and lead the charge, So a lot of preparation went into the first show at the Viper Room. I think we did like 7 rehearsals over a 6-month period, which is not very many, but a lot of hours of us all working on our own. And it was kind of like riding a bike. Once we got back up there, sure, there was a little bit of nerves. We're jumping off the cliff. I hope we land,
Yeah.
and it was great. It was sold out, and people were singing, and I couldn't have asked for a better night. It's amazing.
Well, I thought that was killer. I mean, first of all, go like after taking that time off and then you're performing at the Viper Room, which I have yet to go to. I want to come see you perform at the Viper Room. That's just like it's just the coolest spot, right?
It is the coolest. And I know Tommy Black, who runs that place forever. And like, I don't know if you know, but like, we got signed out of the Viper Room. Everything that happened for the Xyz came from that place. Yeah. So we had to do it there. It's small, but so what? 300 people in a room sweaty and going crazy is a blast. Like, especially when it's a band that you want to see or that you've never seen. And we just had a connection with the crowd that just was, it was magical. That's the only way I know how to explain it.
So like you said, these days, you're a producer, you're working with artists, and you're creating things, you're crafting music, you're helping get the best out of whatever artist you're working with. And and you mentioned getting signed in the Viper Room, and I was going to bring that up. So because now we're 2 decades plus or so removed from those days. Yeah. And back then it was, you played clubs, you did demos, you sent stuff to labels, you toured, and you hoped you got signed. Yeah. That was kind of like the OG method. But these days, I think we spoke to a very young band that's had incredible, like, ridiculous success on TikTok, and they're in high school, and they've never left their garage.
It made us feel very old. We were like aged.
It made us feel incredibly old.
Yes.
But like, is that the new business model for like a young rock band?
I think it's partly, and it just depends. Like, here's the thing: the tried and true things are tried and true for a reason. You can be, look, I'll compare it to the X's. When we got signed finally, we got signed to an independent, but then when we got the major deal, all this money influx comes in. So let's equate the money influx like TikTok, right? This money allows my band to be everywhere, MTV videos, wherever, radio stations, because it takes money to make money, and and then touring and everything. So basically we were kind of like, hey, here's the X's, they're on MTV every hour, and you should like them, and da da da. And it didn't really work until we actually got out on the road and were hard-nosed touring and earning one fan at a time. And so this TikTok generation, it may never leave the garage, and it may be like an in-home pay-per-view event that may make them a lot of money, or they may do a tour and it may last for that shot. I think it just all depends on the longevity. What do you want out of it? Because if you want a career, I don't think that you can have one with TikTok. I think you got to get out there and use TikTok, and then you got to tour, and you got to show that it's visceral and real. And people just like, there's a romanticism to touring, and even though it's kind of a horrible life, it's amazing. It's got this thing that just like, a band that comes in for the night and then leaves, and you go and see them, and so it's a one night stand, right? So it's like it's thrilling. But yeah, I think that the TikTok things, I mean, more power to them. I'm not sure that creates like real success, longevity, but again, success is how however you define it. So yeah, more power to them, I guess.
I know for me, I can listen, someone can introduce me to a new band or new song, and I'll, play it, love it, whatever. But until I've seen them live, that's when you feel like, oh my God, I like ride or die these people, because I feel that energy in the room. And I think that's what you're saying is you can't incubate that kind of energy in a computer.
You can't. And it really is funny, because I saw this thing that Dave Grohl just put out, and somebody was asking him about things that we are talking about at this very moment. And he just kind of did his Dave Grohl thing. He goes, just play live. Play live. That's how it happens. So, I mean, he's the king, right? So it's, and I can sit here and say he's a fan of my band. And I was my biggest songs. He was in the studio sitting right behind me as I was cutting them. Ugly, Hey You, the songs that were on Guitar Hero. Dave Grohl was sitting right behind me, which made me extremely nervous. But it was, it was amazing that he took an interest, because Nick Reskulinix, who was my producer, was his producer for those Foo Fighter records. And, we stay, every now and then, it's just like, hey man, what's up? I wish I could tour with them, but, I would love it. But, there's a lot of political things that go on with all that.
I was looking at credits, and I didn't know this, and you actually worked with a band that I love dearly. I saw you had you did at least worked on a single with Highly Suspect.
Yeah.
Such a good band.
Such a great band. I can tell you that story since you're a fan. And I got a call from my manager, Bill McGathy. Bill McGathy manages Highly Suspect. But at that time, he was not my manager. That would come a couple years later. And he called me and he said, Scott, I got this new band from Brooklyn. They're called Highly Suspect. It's my new shiny penny. I'll never forget that. That's my new shiny penny. And Johnny's never done a co-write before, and he's got the same last name as you. And I was like, oh, cool. That's fine. He goes, we're going to send him to you. You know what I need. Please get me a radio single. And I said, okay, I'll do the best I can. I can't ever guarantee a hit, So I did my homework. He showed up here. He'd never done a co-write with a co-writer other than just the guys in his band, but nobody ever outside his circle. And he just looked at me and goes, how's this work? And I said, you got any titles? You got any song starts? You got anything that you want to show me? And he goes, I got this start. And he started playing what turned into Blood Feather. And he had the verse. And I was like, okay. And then we started to work on like the transition into the chorus. And I was the one that came up with this. You got to do something like this, do 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 do, down 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 on the guitar, and you can sing over this part. And he tried to do it. And I'll never forget this. He looked at me and goes, I can't sing and play that part right now, so it's never going to work. I go, yeah, but we're writing it right now. Give yourself a few moments to like, or a week to learn it. You'll be able to do it. Trust me. And within 10 minutes, he could do it. And, so then, okay, now that part's fine. And so we wrote the rest of the song, I think over the next day. We finished the bridge the next day. And I just set up the mic like I do. And I'm like, okay, let's do it. Because I had the rough tracks. We laid guitars down. And he's like, well, wait a minute. We need to go get like a bottle of Jack Daniels or like some weed or something. Like I gotta, I want to get in the mood. And I was like, no, it's just a 3-minute pop song. Like, let's just,
Diet Coke and go.
Just a 3-minute song. Like, just get on the mic. Let me test it. And I got the level and I was like, okay, just sing down. And then we can go to the store afterwards. And I tricked him. And I made him do it twice all the way through, punching in, and he's got amazing pitch, amazing delivery, confidence, and timing. And as it was going down, I was like, this guy's special, man. This guy I don't think he even knows how good he is. And that turned out to be the vocal right there. So you never know, and the fact that I was his first co-write is amazing. And then I think they did the rest of it. They took it to Joel Hamilton after that. And
that's amazing. Thank you for sharing that story. Because I mean, I absolutely love the band. But you said something, and I think I've heard other producers talk about it. I've heard other artists talk about it. I've heard engineers talk about it. They're like, there's something to be said when you're like in that moment. Don't put the guitar down, man, or don't, it's like just record this like right now.
Yes, exactly. There's a new song. I can't talk about it right now, but there's the second single from the Dorothy record that's coming.
No one's going to see this. This is
We
just
love
for me.
Dorothy. Tell us.
No. So I just finished producing her record, but there is a song, Ruben, that's on there that is, it was like 5 or 6 o'clock, and I usually quit at 6, and then I go up and have dinner and, glass of wine. And then then I start usually work around 9:30. And I showed her this track. I said, listen, I'm working on a song we can work on for tomorrow. And I played a little bit of it, and she's just like, oh my God, set up the microphone right now. And I was like, well, Flavia's making dinner. And she's like, no, we got to go now. And so I set up the mic, and what you're going to hear, it's 2 takes again, and a couple of little pickups, maybe like a total of 4 takes, but the verses in there are 1 take. And it's exactly what you're saying. It's like she felt it, made me feel it, was like, it's go time. I can't wait till tomorrow. We got to do this now. And I believe it to be the biggest single on her record.
Okay. So Scott, there's always a question that we ask to our guests. And you've talked about so many, times being in this room and how you're saying a small room, but it looks like a significant space to create magic. For you, what was your how did I get in this room moment? Whether you're working with an artist that you've never imagined writing with or producing, have you had one where you just like have to pinch yourself and say, how did I get here? How am I in this room?
Yeah, I think that how did I get into this room? But it came after a series of writes, and all of a sudden, I remember at the time that I started, out of the A&Rs and the managers that I had to go through to get these sessions, when I was called by Steve Robertson, he goes by Steve-O, Nashville-based guy. He said, how do you feel about writing with Brent Smith from Shinedown? And I was so nervous, but because they had just come off a Second Chance, which was a #1 pop song back, that's when rock get on the pop charts, so this is like 2015, 14. And I remember when he walked in the door, I was just like, how did I get into this part of my life. Here I am working with the guy that's probably the biggest guy in rock right now, modern rock. And just a few years ago, I was just this guy trying to get a co-write, and now here this is. And so it was a very pinch me kind of am I dreaming moment. And you know what's funny? We didn't get a song that made a record. It didn't happen. And that just goes to show you that. But 2 years later, I wrote a song called How Did You Love with him, which went #1 and went platinum, and it's and they still play it to this day. So sometimes, you think you're getting, you've reached the rainbow, but it doesn't happen, but then it happens later. So just keep on your path, I guess there's another one though for your show, because I know a lot of the people that watch love Motley Crue, but I did have a pinch you moment when I was in Nikki Sixx's dressing room playing a song that I had co-written with him and my guitar player David, and Tommy was there and Vince was kind of milling around, but it wasn't going to be for Motley Crue. It was going to be for this side project called 6 a.m., which was, DJ Ashba and who played in Guns N' Roses. And I remember just thinking in that moment, like, how did this happen? How am I in Motley Crue dressing room on tour with them, writing songs for this thing? You know what I mean? It was just kind of crazy. So
That is wild.
those two of them.
Can you beat that, Ruben?
No. I'm going to say it right now. I think Scott was one of the best interviews, and we've had some best interviews. We have to figure out a way to put all 43 minutes on the air.
He was incredible. He came in with the energy. He left with the energy. It was hard to cut him off. He just so many incredible stories and
nuggets. He gave us nugs.
He gave us
not
all
those
the
kind of
nugs.
But,
He just,
just like nugget, not like.
We were wowed. It's very rare that both of us don't want to respond and say something, and clearly we both talk over each other.
It's incredibly rare.
Listening to Scott's stories about his studio and working with who he's worked with and being in dressing rooms, with Nikki Sixx and, Vince and all these folks.
Motley Crue,
wow.
yeah.
How do we, I wondered how I got in this room.
Yeah, no, it was good stuff. So hopefully we were able to keep the, the behind the scenes thing happening with, our interviews and our guests. And he's based out of Nashville, right?
He's in Cali.
Oh, he's in California.
He's in SoCal, yeah.
So how did the Nashville thing happen? Because you guys were like at a party. You don't have to go.
Yeah.
I don't want all of the details.
We're not going to go into the party.
It was Halloween.
But it was. We went to a costume party, and in fact, I'd been working with Scott for some time, but I hadn't met. A lot of times I don't meet the people that we're gifting until a year or two down the line.
Sunglasses.
Right? But via the sunglasses. So I show up at this incredible party. The term "party like a rock star," I lived that, but I was the only normal person that walked in to this party.
But you were on the guest list.
But Scott was there, and I recognized him from his eyewear, which was so cool.
Right.
I was like, "Hey,
our friend Ryan Cook."
Our friend Ryan Cook was there. Ryan Cook.
I love that.
Heck yeah.
Only the top names get to wear transparent, right?
We're very exclusive. We're very, very exclusive. In fact, you are now.
We're bringing people in all the time. I love that.
We're bringing slow. Yeah. But it is.
I'm
it's
a
like
charity
family.
case. You just give me all the leftovers.
You're like a stray. I've adopted you, and I love it. Also, you've got like a hair on your jacket.
Well, there's 4 dogs like rolling around here, so that's not.
But yeah, no, I think Scott is like family, as is Marty Fredrickson, which is how really Scott and I met, 2 music producers. Marty is based in Nashville.
So the cool thing is he's our first producer,
yeah.
But he connects to a lot of different producers.
So many.
And I don't know if just me being a music nerd, I'm fascinated by how did the album get made? Like you were in the studio, and I don't care who's there, or who the artist is, but he was talking about how he had to like trick a particular singer into just doing the take right now. The dude wanted to go to the
Yeah.
liquor store, and he's like, we'll go in a minute. Just sing the track and just sing it and see what happens. And it ended up being a keeper. It ended up being the one that,
That's an innate talent. I think that we ask, how does one become a music producer, right? I think it is a natural talent, and again, a testament to Scott and his personality to put people at ease, to be able to know how to navigate, getting them comfortable.
That's what I do.
Sure. Okay.
Mostly.
Most of the time we're comfortable with you. We never know what situation we're going to be put in with Ruben.
Yeah.
But,
I'm like room temperature butter.
Room temperature water or butter.
Sure.
Whatever the situation is. But again, I think Scott, the first of many music producers that will hopefully come on this show and just to
And he
share.
better hook us up with Dorothy.
Dorothy and Daughtry.
There you go. All right, guys, that's
Double
it for
D.
us. Next week, more stuff. We don't know what it is, but it's going to be fun. Thanks for being here. We're out.